The day has come.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Audio is Visual, a podcast in space where we engage photographers, creators, researchers, and different kinds of people who are working in the image-making landscape in Africa and broadly. If you are a jazz lover, today is your day because we've got Lerato Pakade, who is a phenomenal jazz photographer. And in her work, Lerato invites viewers to reflect on the transformative power of music as both a personal and collective force, weaving together themes of resilience, of celebration, of connection. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Like Ndimlo.
So I want to see if this is maybe your beginning point. Mm-hmm. A lot of the research we've done on you speaks about Lerato, the teenager who's jazz obsessed.
Yes.
Who's your entry into jazz? When did that happen?
Oh man, freshly ground, no mvula.
Okay.
Just the opening guitar, and then when the bass guitar comes in, you know the drop. Changed my chemistry, honestly.
Okay.
How
old are you at this point?
What year did it come out? 2003?
Okay.
I think. We'll double check that.
Sure.
But in that year. There was just something about the fact that they always performed live together.
Right.
So the instrumentation, and then of course Zolani's voice.
Yes.
Just takes you to another place. And seeing a young person tell their story with such authenticity and courage. And then because I'm in Cape Town, and they were based in Cape Town, I would go to every single show that they had, that we could afford, you know. So from Kirsten Bosch summer concerts to, there used to be this thing called the Waterfront, where they had like free performances on Sundays. I think now they do it by the Silo Hotel. And just as many festivals as we could attend as a family. That was kind of how we bonded. And I would go literally to the front. I'd find my parents and their seat, and I'd know I've got...
Are you photographing at this point, or you're just watching?
No. So I think the best way to describe how it's come together now is that it's always been the music first.
Right.
And even when I came to decide to kind of appreciate music through photography, it happened in a musical place. It's the music that's been kind of calling me and guiding me, and it's been consistent over the years. There was a trip I went on when I was 14, 15 to the States. They sent me away basically for school holidays. And I still remember being back when you could listen to a CD.
Musica, what a place.
Exactly. What a time to be alive. And the CDs I was drawn to that I bought were Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone, Justo. At 13, 14 years old.
That is a bit, you're doing too much.
Yeah, so I think understanding myself and that I'm a big feelings kind of girl, jazz is a good place to hold those big feelings.
Sure. And I mean, we respect the fact that you're a jazz photographer, but like at that time, Kwaito was peaking as well. Yeah. How are you not in that scene?
I'm not in that scene at all. Well, okay, not in that scene. I'd have to describe the kind of household that I grew up in. So firstly, we traveled around a lot, moved houses a lot. My parents had me young, so they're kind of building their lives, as I'm growing up. And so for the first 6 years of my life, I'm living in rural Northwest.
Okay. Where in the Northwest?
I always am like, I'm going to say the name of the village and you won't know it. But it's like an hour and a half from Sun City. It's called Kameelboom. Yeah. And like the town of the village is Mahong.
Okay.
Yeah. And those were very much church people, my grandparents. So gihodile with difela most of the time. And then, yeah, growing up, my parents' taste was also just very...
Sophisticated.
No, I wouldn't call it sophisticated. That implies hierarchy, right? But just not...
Fair.
Like, my parents are nerds. There's no better way to put it. Like, they ended up with advanced degrees.
Yeah.
They've studied as much as they could. So it was nerdy in that way. So we weren't really plugged into what pop culture was.
Right.
But then December time, when my aunts and uncles are home, yeah, then of course we've got Bobo Mshaka,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll tease into the other genres from time to time.
Yeah.
The Black intelligentsia is jazz obsessed, so I understand.
I'm told.
For good reasons.
Yeah.
For good reasons. Something else that also came up, as we were just reading and prepping to chat to you is, so your first reference, allegedly, and you can help us clarify that, of collecting photographs was Nina, was Miriam, and they have like a fantastic, crazy relationship.
Yes,
they have a crazy relationship.
Yes, exactly. Have you seen the picture of them kissing on the lips? It's so beautiful. Like, women and friendships is life-giving. Yes.
Yeah. Where do you get those images?
I'm going to take you to a blast from the past.
Okay.
Do you remember Destiny magazine?
Yes.
So Destiny had a very particular edition where they had postcards that were a calendar. And they celebrated different Black women.
Yes.
So there was one of Maya Angelou that I remember. There was one of Mam Winnie Mandela. And then specifically Mam Miriam and Nina Simone. And I still have them there in my apartment.
They're in black and white.
Yeah, in black and white. So those were the first, because I used to love reading Destiny, at the time. And you can imagine that kind of magazine, it has a very specific tone.
Absolutely, because I'm like, how did you not say drama at that point? I'm like, okay, I'll accept it.
Right, but whoever the culture editor was, props to them for that.
They did a good job.
Because it ended up in my hands.
Yeah.
And then there was another photograph by I think it's French photographer called Musician in the Rain.
Okay.
So the significance of this photo is, so firstly, it's a gentleman in a trench coat with a hat. He's holding an umbrella and it's raining, but he's holding it over his cello.
Ooh.
As opposed to over himself.
Okay.
And at the time I played the cello.
Okay, so we don't know this part.
I know. It was just for a few years, and my younger sister played for much longer than I did. And I'm trying to get back into it, actually, because there's such a rich sound. But yeah, I saw myself in terms of a cellist.
Protect the music at all times.
Yeah, like what kind of dedication does it take that in the rain, your gift is the thing that you shield, knowing that you'll get dry, but no damage can happen to your gift. So that really moved me.
Thanks so much for sharing that. So maybe let's start about what is important for you when you're capturing a lot of your photographs are in black and white as opposed to color. What's the intentionality behind that decision?
Look, it's not a very popular decision, I'll tell you that. I ran into a musician who I will not name.
Okay.
Who very cheekily said to me that Tina, I'm jazz photographers, we like shooting in black and white. Ngati, it's the 50s, And I smiled and I said, would you like the color versions of them?
Yeah.
I'm very happy to share that, and where musicians prefer that,
sure.
I'm open to it. Also because I shoot in RAW, so that gives me that optionality. Yeah. But even my screen is black and white. So I think there's two main reasons why it's my main modality. The first, I think, has to do with the tradition of jazz photography. seeing myself in photographs in magazines from the 60s, seeing in Staff Rider magazine, that musicians have been captured for a long time in this particular form. So seeing those kinds of pictures helped me to feel like I'm not crazy, that I'm just continuing a tradition that exists. And so there's a bit of an homage, to that. And then the second, I think, is in terms of how I see, right? So being, an image maker is about dimension. And I think black and white has a great way of like stripping away the allotness. And just thinking about light and shadow. And then the moment, and then it leaves a lot more room for whoever's looking at the photograph to interpret, to analyze, to project, So it's a bit of I think it's like a doorway, as opposed to being the room itself.
Right. So you started Phumulo Zungu as one of your mentors.
Yes.
Do you start? Okay, so let's talk about that mentorship relationship.
Yes, please.
And how then it influences how you frame your identity as a photographer.
Listen, I am so happy that you've asked me this, because he needs to be given his flowers. So I came across some of Phumulo's pictures. They came across my IG feed. I don't even know necessarily. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, I think I want to learn photography. Will you teach me? And I said, I'm going to save a certain amount. I would like to pay you for the lessons, because your knowledge has value, your experience has value. And man, it was just so special how humbled he was by that, because he was like, no one's ever asked me to walk them through this process. So knowing that there's a vulnerability for both of us, I think really made it special. And then it was practical from day one. Actually, our very first lesson, was at Brafea's birthday show.
Okay, I know this infamous picture.
The now late Brafea. And at the time, oh my goodness, I didn't even know how to hold a camera. So just before the show, Phumulo's showing me, you need to hold the lens because that is how you're going to. And then this is where the action happens. Like that basic, right?
Wow.
And then he says, just follow me. And here we are. I'm like, there's a show going on. Are we allowed to be creeping around here, He's like, you need to be brave, capture what you see. So I took some photos as the show was happening. And I think I have such fond memory of the show itself. Like I can remember specific stories from the show. But what was powerful was Brafea chose to use one of my pictures as his thank you for coming to the show. And he had, how can I forget her name? He had the lady that he was working with.
Photographer as well?
No, she's in the cultural curation space. Her name will come back to me. And I can see her face. Beautiful black woman. He had her pass on the message that he really likes my pictures. So early on, I think you need a little bit of that validation to say, you've got something, keep going, and so we walked a process, no Phumulo, and I would take pictures, I'd post them, and then he would take a screenshot, draw grid lines, and be like, this is a great start, and kind of give me the positive reinforcement to say rule of thirds, and then also be like, just make sure that next time try, which I really loved. I consider that love, that kind of feedback. So honestly, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for him saying yes to us walking that path together.
And so at this point at which you're at Brafeya Faku's show,
Yeah.
have you listened to his music at this point? Are you also a fan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Big
Okay.
fan.
Okay.
Big fan. Mm-hmm.
And so off camera, we were talking about how you prefer to follow the music,
Yeah.
and as opposed to the artist. But I mean, I see it connected.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely connected. I remember the thing that touched me the most was the tradition of dedications that happens throughout jazz music. So you think of Hymn for Daiwa, you think of
Nomfundo's work on Sibongile as well.
yes,
Fantastic.
Sibongile, Moshe on Malcolm Gianni's album. There's many. So that tradition of kind of recognizing one another, it's like a love letter to your contemporaries, so not just the people who, paved the way for you. And I was like, oh, that's love.
Yeah.
So as you can see, love is like a strong thing, a strong theme that drives me. And I just remember there was a tenderness in it. There was a vulnerability. He spoke about when he lost his trumpet and how Brahu gifted him a trumpet. Yeah, man. So there was something that's just like, okay, ngabantu ahamba. And so you're invested as they share with you. This is sort of an opportunity to reflect back to them the gift that they've given you. Yeah.
So, which artists? No, it's not a trick question. It's not going to cause a fight.
Which artists?
Which artists are you enjoying musically that you'd like to capture? And maybe you have, but just you haven't spent a lot of time with them.
Oh, who would I like to shoot more of?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Oh, yes. Or maybe who would you like to shoot that you haven't yet? Whose music you're still basking in and you like, the opportunity has not come yet.
Yeah, he's going to kill me for saying this.
Okay. Sorry.
And let me tell you the backstory.
Yeah.
So the answer is Keenan John Mayer. And in particular, really, man, there's like a regal nature to him and his performances, and his music means so much to me. So I've taken photos, but I don't feel like I've captured the essence of the majesty that he carries and just the power in many ways that he draws from and channels through him. And so I had taken a photo of him. So we were actually part of the same scholarship program.
Okay.
And he was performing at one of the events, and that's how I discovered him.
This is MNR.
Yeah, MRF, yes.
MRF,
The
Mandela Rhodes Foundation.
Yes. He's also a scholar, and we just hit it off. So getting to know him was like, okay, great, I'd love to, but every time he performs, I go to another place and I'm just like...
You forget to work.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not yet satisfied that I feel like there's more to explore, and more to expand. Him and Buhle Bendalo.
Okay.
And it's for similar reasons that her music really, really moves me. And so there's a way to kind of balance the vulnerability of just how moving, like that is healing work that both of them do, and being able to show up technically as well. So I think that's like a goal of mine, to stretch myself to be able to carry the feeling and do the work.
So I want to ask a technical question, because as a music photographer, in my mind, when I go to jazz festivals, I'm watching everyone on stage, oftentimes the main performer, but I do like to watch how they all work together as a collective. There's so much movement happening.
Yes.
And of course, then you find other artists like Keenan, Buhle moves, yes. Some are more still, some are more flowy. So your Zoe Mudiras is, I'm working the entire stage.
She's that girl.
Technically, how do you navigate that? And how?
So this was shared with me, and I have to say that there have been a number of people in the photography community, and particularly the jazz photography community, who are so generous with their knowledge, you know. And so I think the first thing was I learned this through a musician who was like, it's all well and good to take a picture of me, but this sound comes from all of us. And so I would love it if you're able to recognize everybody that, you know, is performing. And I took that as like, yeah, it really resonated. And I think taking that approach then means that, this is the second thing that I was told, that you decide, okay, I'm watching this person right now. And this is, I'm waiting for the moment. I'm seeing their movements. I'm seeing kind of emotionally what the journey is doing. I'm listening to, you know, what the music is doing, because that'll also tell you which musician, right? And then spend time, you know, take your time. It doesn't matter that there's so much movement, because for me, taking a photograph or, you know, image making is about that snapshot, and it requires a stillness, you know. So from a technical perspective, I'd say that's really important. And then, yeah, I think you're absolutely right in terms of how the energy that moves between a band is really extraordinary. I think there's so many South African musicians who every single instrument maybe has their own album, their own project, have done their own performances, and they have the humility to show up for one another and serve the incredible music that, you know, their counterparts.
So with these musicians, so if we were to think about Joy of Jazz, for example, how much goes into the preparations for, do you know who you're shooting? And if you're shooting an entire festival, do you go into rehearsals? Like, what's your prep? What's your relationship like with the artists, with the organizers, if any?
Man, Joy of Jazz has been a journey. I remember I was reflecting on, from the last one, that the first time I went to Joy of Jazz, I was so nervous. I was a nervous wreck. I had emailed, you know, the accreditation person, and I was like, hi, I'm a freelancer. Here are some examples of my work. Please, can I get a media pass? And she was so encouraging. And the rookie mistake I made was thinking you can capture all of the shows. So the first thing is kind of making a choice to be like, okay, what feels like it's calling me? Because I could attend almost every show, but what feels like it's calling me? And maybe who haven't I photographed before? And then fast forward to this year, where I had the immense privilege to serve as Siama Kuzeni's big band brought to life the magic that they did. And so from rehearsals, actually before rehearsals, sitting together, Nosia, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, dreaming about that stage in that format. And she's like, I want big band, I want brass band kind of sound. And it was, you know, bold in that way.
That's very Sia.
Right? And so actually, now that you mentioned it in terms of the process, that started 2 years ago. And then was able to sit in on rehearsals, as well as help organize. Because when you're there and you start to know people and you build relationships, you're like, how can I make myself useful, you know? And there were like, I think 19 people in the band. So logistically, the artist needs to focus on putting on a show, you know? So this year I had an opportunity to be part of a lot more. And then once the band is on stage, so literally helping with all of the logistics to get there, once the band is on stage, now I'm a photographer. I pick up my camera and, you know, so that's kind of been my journey, is that this year specifically was much more focused if you compare it to the first year. And then, of course, I had to shoot in Umfundo.
Of course.
We
Thank
have,
you.
an extensive relationship.
Yeah.
I had the deep honor of shooting with her for her latest album cover. That was its own experience, and even choosing that photograph. So whenever Nomfundo is performing, even at Untitled, that's someone, we kind of go on a journey together.
Yeah. Any new artists you want to have that relationship with?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very important that it be organic.
Okay, so we're not going to mention anyone.
Yeah, well, no, I'm happy to mention
Okay.
people who have come to my attention, but I guess I'm saying that...
that's also not a guarantee of what will come of the relationship.
Yeah, sometimes it's that you show up and you're like, I just need to be here as an audience member, or there are people that can capture this feeling in a different way than I can, so people that have been capturing Kujenga, for example, they have their people, they do this amazing long exposure thing that feels like what it's like to be in the Untitled basement, and they do it in color. Like, that is such a perfect form for a fantastic band like Kujenga, that I'm so happy to see get their props. I don't know if she's new, but I guess she's just released her debut album, Zawadi.
Zawadi, yes.
Ooh, Nkosi yami.
I've seen her live, and you know what?
The anointing upon her.
She is good. She is good.
Man, and just so humble and so deeply rooted in her culture in a way that doesn't feel like a performance, and is dutiful to her craft. You can tell a girl is there doing her scales, and then gives us everything on stage. So I was able to capture her for the first time when she came to Untitled Basement. And actually, we did the whole day. So she started with an interview, Dumza Maswana, on Umhlomene FM and his, jazz, Mkulowe jazz show. So capturing some of that, and then the preparations and sound check for the show, and then the show itself. So I was, man, I feel blessed to have been able to witness that.
So I want to take a gap now and just invite the team if they have any questions.
Okay.
What does it take for you to prepare yourself? Because the space is already curated in a certain way that you are external to the design, right? From the sonic experience, from a sensory visual experience, when you know where you're going to shoot, minus the artist. What do you do to prepare? Because there's so many energies in the space, and I imagine it takes an incredible amount of deep reflection to keep yourself intact when you go there. So how do you armor yourself to go be this vessel that's going to capture what people are otherwise enthralled in the music, they don't notice at the time?
Man, you've captured it so well. I'll maybe start at the end to say it's both an armor energetically as well as an openness that's required, right? Because there's music in the air, that means God's in the room, and kind of having a sense of stillness such that I got me and I'm able to see how God shows up in the room is a really big deal. And what you're saying makes me think of, because you're asking really about process, right? I had such a wonderful revelation yesterday, in fact, as I was thinking about our conversation. Uguti, you know how they talk about that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And I was like, okay, what does that really mean, So if we think about the pudding as the photograph in the end that people get to enjoy. When you take your spoon and you put it in your mouth, So there's a sensory experience that's happening, right? So as I'm having that sensory experience in terms of taste, it's kind of like a time travel back to reflecting what your process was, right? So depending on the texture of the pudding, I can tell if you were stressed as you were mixing, you know, or did you overwork it, you know, or were you not paying attention to details and you added too much baking soda, or are you experimenting with, you know, with the recipe itself and putting your own flavor on it. And I was so grateful. Like, I consider that a gift in terms of revelation, to be like, oh man, the thing that matters is what happens in the kitchen, you know? And baking that pudding over and over and over and over again, putting in the time, and that kind of helps me feel like, if you say there's a show tonight, I just need to grab my camera.
Sure.
Let's go, you know? And then there's obviously practicalities of lighting, etc., that bring out the pudding. But the pudding is a reflection of everything that happened in the kitchen. And I've grown so much in terms of what that process looks like now that I have that understanding, you know.
And just, go.
Andy.
Lerato, so you're speaking a lot about, like, you spoke about God is in the room.
Yeah.
Something else you mentioned, but I'd like to believe that if God is in the room, what are you looking for? There's a spirit, it's a spirit, right? So what are you looking for? What moments are you looking for from the people that are presenting God on stage?
Yeah. Look, and they may or may not be branding it in the form of, you know, a spiritual experience.
Sure.
Music by nature has a way of doing things. And there's a technical aspect to it as well. People know the major chords, you know, in worship, that's when we'll cry, you know. And they know the minor chords is for, like, the deep weeping, etc. But I think music itself is a gift from God. And most musicians you speak to will say, I'm not the composer, I'm the vessel. So understanding that they are a vessel helps me to show up as a co-vessel, right? Because if that spirit kind of connects and you recognize, and it will also tell you what to do when.
Sure.
So, for example, with Unomfunda's cover, that wasn't even part of the shoot. We had taken a break, and she was having her makeup touched up. And literally, God was like, Sisi, call me the camera and catch the moment, you know? And I'm unapologetic about the fact that that's who leads me. That's where this gift comes from. And living this life as an artist is a gift. It's devotion, you know? And so the closer I feel in terms of my own spiritual practice, the quicker I can lock in as well. And the better I'm able to see, okay, what's the message here? What's the mood? God is doing a thing, you know, and however you experience God, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the typical kind of mainstream ways. But if you believe in a creator and a source, that is where the good things that art comes from. Then you recognize that.
So just, I mean, on this point of spirit and song.
Yes.
How's that experience like where you're not the photographer anymore? Now you're center stage and you're showing we are eating your pudding.
That's a good way to put it. Well done.
How's that been in terms of, I mean, firstly, Spirit and Song, phenomenal exhibition, and just the curation of it, and what was the thinking and the process for you bringing in, I mean, there was a special performance, and so that sort of, and choosing the venue as well, that curation felt very much a Lerato Pakade thing.
Really?
How do you work with other creatives, right, to sort of ensure that you also feel that the essence of who you are is reflected in an exhibition when you're not necessarily
Yeah.
or entirely a curator? Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's so important to xa sisithi umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. It's not trite.
Right.
It means you have the privilege of having access to ubuntu bakhe. And so when we talk about collaboration, it's really gifting each other, serving each other, me trusting you to see what I can't see, you know, me trusting you to literally stand in the gap, to be like, this is the gap, Sissy.
Yeah.
Come, let me help you to 1 and 2 and 3. So that's important, first of all, is just to highlight that working together is really important to me. And then it was hosted in Maboneng, and there was a beautiful sort of gallery space. And I loved the idea of, you know, making the gallery accessible.
Sure.
You know, that it doesn't have to be in a marble building. We are here to have this kind of meal, maybe have a drink, and here's this wonderful surprise. So I loved that. That felt good for me, because art is for everyone. And then, interesting story. So initially I had, oh man, dang, you just took me to a place. Oh, okay. So the theme of spirit and song had come to me, and I just made a note of it. Because, as you said, Andy, like, it's something that's so common. Yeah. And I actually think it's a journey I'm still going to continue to walk. That's my friend, that's my girl, you know? So it came to me, and then Braherby was performing in Pietermaritzburg at the Methodist Seminary. That's also, I think, the Center for Black Radical Thought. And Lucia, who works at that center, had been trying to be like, girl, how do we get your work in this space? So the fact that he was going to be there, and there was this theme, you know, around communion, etc., was the perfect opportunity. So that was the preview, actually, of the exhibition. I literally had printed the pictures, put them in the back of my car, drove to Pietermaritzburg, put up the exhibition, etc., and it felt right, I guess, kind of first dedicated back onto the Lord, and then come and put it up. And so I'm back in Joburg. It's kind of just flat wrapped, so they're not in frames because framing is expensive. And I put them up, and Arthur Dlamini, brother of mine, comes in and he says, Pakade, beautiful photographs, you know. But I think, first of all, you can print them bigger. And have faith in the God that you are giving this work to, you know, in service of. And so that kind of elevated the experience, you know, it took things to another level, and it helped me give myself permission, you know, to be unapologetic. Debo was the perfect choice for me because he had been in the season of Difela, you know, and he was so happy to say yes. Wow, was there as well. And actually, it was before we had even started, he put a microphone in my hand and he was like, tell us who you are and what you're doing here. And I think that ended up being the beginning of the reel that you put together. And the questions you asked me required for me to show up in a bigger way than I'm used to. You know, it required for me to speak with clarity. I had to say, I'm Lerato Pakade and I am a photographer. You know, so it's not small that Wandi showed up and then made such a beautiful reel that helped to, you know, spread the word, which is how it ended up, getting
everywhere, and on a national broadcaster.
So it matters, I guess, to be able to serve one another as creators. Yes.
Should I bring you guys in?
I mean, we're all in the room.
So just, beyond the stage, and also perhaps outside of photography itself. What are some friendships that you've been able to weave together that sort of fuel you, I suppose, for the work that you do? Is it important? I mean, of course, community is incredibly important, but being on your own journey and responding to your calling requires those moments where you're not.
Yeah.
And some people are also just naturally introverted.
Yeah.
What has been the value, maybe, or not, of friendship? Yes.
I'll tell you why I'm making this face. I love the question.
You're making a lot of faces.
I know. I love the question, and it's important, and I will answer it. But I was reflecting on the fact, on how quickly I was welcomed into the community. I think because I had been attending shows anyway, and some people we had met at UCT, etc. But the thing to say there was that there's a social capital that highlights, because nothing is in a vacuum, right? Everything is political. And so I'm very aware of the fact that not everyone can afford to go to so many shows that the musicians might recognize you and kind of trust you a little bit more, you know. There are people who've been in the game much, much longer than me, and have created incredible work that I don't think are recognized the way they should be. And it's a commitment of mine to kind of serve, especially those who've contributed to my journey. So it's important to say that there is, in inverted commas, of being able to develop rapport, I'll say. Is the things we have in common are a function of our class position, right? So the fact that we met Go UCT, Spam Jalose, for example, is someone we were in race together. I was on Housecom.
Strange.
I know, right?
Okay.
I was on Housecom, funny enough, connecting the dots. Yeah. And my portfolio was culture. Even though I was studying economics and I was a commerce girl, my portfolio was culture, and USPA came and was happy to perform. As well as Melo B. Jones. I don't know if you've heard of her. Incredible, incredible artist. The fact that we met at UCT matters. So that's the first thing. And just my prayer is that there is much more of an openness to maybe people who don't look like us or sound like us or, you know, aren't 1 degree away, to kind of make the circle bigger, you know? I'm saying all of this to say that I don't think I'm going to mention specific names. Okay. Also because they are private people. Sure. But I'll say maybe in communities that in the music community, they're particularly women, have been just so encouraging, you know, and so like, you know, shoulders up, chest out, girl, you know, send the invoice, girl, or let's go and work, you know. So there are musicians with whom we walk together kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm going to show up whether, you know, because I just want to be a witness as a friend. In the photography community, of course, there are people who've been really instrumental and who I've developed friendships with. Some of them, you know, ending up feeling like family. In the writing world as well, you know, because those are world builders. Yeah. And when you read, I don't know if it's for everybody, when I read, there are pictures that are conjured, right? So there's like an intersensory play that happens that feels really natural when I speak to writers and filmmakers as well. So I'm really, really early in the game in terms of filmmaking. Yeah. But people with like enormous experience have just been like, okay, Sissy, so have you written the thing? You know, and when are we starting to shoot? And do you have a plan? And so they don't allow me to be committed to my fear. They don't allow me, because that's what playing small is, right? Is pledging allegiance to my fear more than the gift and the God who gave the gift,
Sure.
you know? So, and the common theme with all of those different communities, and even visual artists as well, and they've helped me play as well. The common theme is keep moving.
Sure.
Don't freeze. Make things. The point is, the people are coming to the dinner party, there must be pudding, girl. And the only way we have good pudding is if you've been in the kitchen,
Sure.
you know?
Sure.
So yeah, community is really, really important. Really important, like at a soul level, yeah.
But I also think that that's such an interesting strategy. You know, you were speaking earlier about shooting your shot with your mentor.
Yeah.
And now also just the fact that you've got friends who happen to be musicians, and that's how you sort of gain access into the space. I'm thinking about this for someone who's like, I want to get into the space, but I don't have access.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go to.
Yes.
And at least we have a positive story about people shooting their shot on Instagram.
Listen, and people have shot their shot, if that's how you want to put it, with me as well. And there are a number of people that we're walking the journey together. I'm happy to share, you know, what I've learned. Listen, Audacity is the thing that I have,
Sure.
that I've been blessed with. The thing that just says, why not? You know, I've had multiple careers to get to this point. And so, but that comes from a genuine place of curiosity, you know, that's like, there's something about your particular style that I really connect with. And I'd love to produce work in this kind of mood.
Sure.
So being particular about seeing yourself in that person goes a long way, and that it's not networking, it's relationships, right, that you're trying to build. But go to shows and find somebody with a camera and be like, oh, what camera is that? What lens do you use? How are you finding, you know, your shots, especially at interval? The lighting is like this here. And then you kind of build a camaraderie, you know, so it helps to meet on the field as well, as opposed to in theory. So if you are afraid to shoot your shot, then come to the match and let's kick before to warm up together, you know?
You've spoken a lot as well about your relationship with reading. What are some of your earliest readings that you think were also like at the center of photographer Lerato?
Of photographer Lerato, interesting. Do you mean me younger or me earlier in this journey?
Whoever wants to come out now.
Look, I think early Lerato was really happy to discover the literature that was coming out of West Africa, right? So they've got such deep, rich tradition. We can all say we were moved by things fall apart, right? But it felt like there was something happening. Okay, the school was very white that I went to, also like lily white.
Okay.
So it was always going to mean something different for me. But it felt like there was something special happening, like that. That it's almost like Umtu had left a gift for you in the form of their book, Abo Purple Hibiscus, Abo Nervous Conditions. It helped kind of enrich my world, and particularly because there were stories about Black people, you know, in a Black world that was unapologetic, you know, later on discovering Abo Toni Morrison, etc. And that's important in the context of me growing up in Cape Town, where canon is considered white, the archive is considered white.
And the creative space.
Yes, the creative space in all the layers, you know, and it's important to name it just like that, right? Because seeing myself in a world that was just Black, that had, Toni Morrison talks about that she stood at the margins, declared that her center, and allowed the rest of the world to move to her. So clearly that's been influential. And then, so this is, I suppose that gives context to why we are here at Lit Culture Books. is this was a place where firstly I could find old magazines. Again, it felt like a time capsule. So there were people in the 50s and 60s that were doing this crazy thing that I've jumped into. And then reading about the times, reading about the relationships between photography and music, reading also because we either hear musicians or we see pictures of them. So particularly where there's kind of an interview format and you're able to hear them in their own words. That's been really, really important. And I was really lucky to find a copy of Staff Rider that has the original article with Brahu. And it's entitled Home is Where the Music Is. And it kind of feels like I'm happy to have it, but I feel like everyone should have access to it, So if I could find some kind of like African literature library, I would love to, even if it means just coming and viewing particularly older material, because it just helps you settle, man, in an intellectual tradition. There are books now in terms of people moving the thinking forward. So Guko Inyati, that's a collection. It's a collection of Black women thinkers and writers. They talk about umsindo and the concept of like just the agency through music that particular women have had. Wandering Ink, Wandering Spirits. I'll remember Spirited Ink, something like that. I'll remember it. But there's a series of essays that are just helping me think differently about how to be braver as an artist that then shows up in my work. So even now I'm starting to write a lot more about the themes that have come up in the photography. Yeah.
Can I jump in
Yes.
on that matter of like literature and stuff?
Yes.
There's always like this conversation about like photographers should read more.
Yes.
So I'm guessing like I'm trying to speak to what does your research look like? Are you reading, okay, you just said you read more, but what else like do you supplement that with? And is it really, really important for photographers to read?
100%. I think firstly, when you dedicate yourself to something, for me, being a scholar of that field is really important. Not just from a technical level, but understanding that you are joining an ongoing tradition. There's nothing new under the sun. You can only share what you see, right? That's the thing that would make it new or novel. And I think that's important because it says that you take your craft seriously, It says that you want to understand different visual languages. You want to understand just the room that you are in, because you are not in a room alone. And it can feel like a solitary practice because as opposed to playing a melody together like a band does, we only have our camera in our hands. But we are in a room. There are many conversations that are ongoing. And so depending on what's important to you, we gotta read. If you want to be taken seriously, and then be able to acknowledge the contributions that people have made to the conversation so that you can proudly declare that this is how, you are adding to the conversation. So thank you for that question. It's really important. I feel strongly about that, actually, yeah.
And what would you say is like the importance of the audience in the room? As a photographer needing to silence the audience because they're also enjoying the music, but also needing to silence them visually as well so that we can focus on the art.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see. As in silence for myself.
For yourself, but also for us.
Interesting.
I mean, there's different kinds of photographers who will give us both art creatives on stage and they'll give us off stage.
Yes.
I haven't seen that necessarily as a tradition that you do.
I haven't shared it yet.
Okay. So what would you, so the importance of silencing the audience for you
Yeah.
to focus on what you're doing, and then in some cases silencing some conversations for this conversation you're capturing.
Yeah.
And I think it links to Kumo's question around process. How do you prepare to silence and to hear and so that you can capture? And is there a ritual that you do in preparation of festivals or any performances you're capturing?
Yeah. Look, I mean, to answer your last question, I pray. And we were talking earlier, Kumo, about going where God says you must go.
Sure.
And so embracing the spirit of FOMO is really important because you don't need to be at every show.
Yeah.
You know, you need to know where something is calling you, and you need to meet the moment there, right? And there's a sense of surrender that's required for that. So there's maybe some shows that I'll attend but not bring my camera because I know that that's my indulgence. Yeah. God didn't say go there, you know what I mean? So that's really important to me. But in terms of the audience, I have a slightly different approach. It might feel, because when you look at the picture, what you see is the musician.
Right.
It might feel like the audience is silent, right? But there's a thing happening between the musician and the audience that is what brings this moment to life, right? And so, and especially for me, when I look at photos, I can remember the venue. I can remember people singing along. I can remember that we want more.
Yeah.
And the Ivo guys, we need to start on time. You understand? We're doing an interval. We're not. So I think the audience, even though we can't see them in the photo, are very much a part of it. And that's because I see myself first and foremost as an audience member. And while I've made a choice to not capture audiences, because I think people are entitled to their privacy, and that's just something I feel very strongly about. And it's a whole thing about documentary photography and street photography that we could get into. But that's just my choice. I will say, though, from a technical perspective, it's really important to be able to move it through the room without disturbing the audience experience, because the audience comes first. The audience paid money, they left their houses to have an experience with the person on stage. So as a photographer, it's not about you. It's not about you. In fact, you are serving the audience by capturing a moment they experienced that they can then connect to, right? Yeah. So while we want to be large in our artistry and vision, that's the appropriate time to make yourself small, right? And the thing I love, the biggest compliment you can pay me as a musician is, Aibo Pakade, I didn't even know you were there, right? Or the thing I like about you, Pakade, is I don't have to worry about you on my radar because you position yourself in such a way that you're part of the audience. Even if I come sit right in front, I'm sitting and enjoying the music, right? So I think it's really important to center the audience. They come first. Because it's different if you are attending a live taping.
Okay.
Then we know that we are here for you to capture your music, and we're happy to be here. But if this is a performance, then those are the most important people in the room, and we can't silence them.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I've got about 2 questions before we maybe wrap up. Which space would you say has the best audiences? Jazz. It doesn't have to be an exclusively jazz space. It can be like a festival or a venue that we know is just for jazz.
Yes.
Which are very rare these days where they're exclusively for jazz.
I know.
Times have changed.
And we're losing our places as well.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Where you're like, this is the best. Every artist needs to be in that venue.
Do you know 2? So one is a physical venue, and then one is a space. Maybe because Sibongile Khumalo's live at the Market Theatre. was a really integral album for me, especially Tando's Groove. That's how I hluza if we're gonna be friends or not. Can we, can we sing Tando's Groove together and jam to it? So there's something about the Market Theatre, and they have a variety of spaces that allows, first of all, it pays homage to the fact that that area really was not just a hub, it was community among artists. You think of Kippies, there are now restaurants that are closed, some are still open. That really was where the center was, and that's, I think, where the origins of where Joy of Jazz originally had been. Our baseline were there, like that was
the space to be.
Yeah, so even if the place has changed, the fact that the theater itself is still there, I think is really important. And the lighting is fantastic in theater in general, because you have your dark background, you have the lighting for you, they do the job, so maybe that's also my selfish ambition. And then in terms of spaces, the Grahamstown.
Grahamstown Arts Festival.
National Arts Festival. I think a lot of musicians will say that was their training ground, right? Because so there was a year when we documented the process. So many, first of all, of the artists today, went through that process, and they were mentored by Abu Brazim, by Paul Hamner, etc. You think of someone like Paul Hamner, who's a piano, and Bogani Daya as a kid auditioning for the band, and he's playing his music. Like, it's just an incredible thing. And to see our age mates be who these young people are looking up to, and that they're excited to have that opportunity. There's something really authentic. And then it's rigorous. There are multiple shows, and so it's rare that you'll find one musician only doing one show. And it's also a place that's like, you heard it here first,
It gives some exclusivity. Definitely does.
So if you can travel at least once, there's something special that happens in that place, especially for the musicians themselves. It's always a place to, come back to every year. It's where they get to see each other because they've been touring. So the energy of that, like, a long time, you can feel it on stage, and then they come back at bigger theaters than, DSG Hall. But that jazz hub that happens, I think, if you have the opportunity, then I highly advise it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Besides jazz as a genre, which other genre? I mean, theater you mentioned slightly, but which other genre popular genre, to make you nervous a bit, which of the popular genres would you like to...
Popular music genres?
Music genre, yeah.
Would I like to?
Photograph.
Beyoncé, Giselle Knowles Carter.
Oh, okay.
This camera. Beyoncé, Giselle Knowles Carter. Parkwood Entertainment. And I'll tell you why. Beyoncé's the whole genre. Because she says genres are a funny thing, right?
Just Beyoncé.
Man, and her genre breaking.
Yeah.
I look up to Beyoncé in a way that is multidimensional. So I enjoy the music, yes. And even then, I don't know if it would be on stage. It might be more of the process. It might be more of the rehearsal, the conceptualization, the practice after practice after practice, But I think fundamentally, the choice to take her career into her own hands already is a big thing, right? Because moving through the world as a Black woman is hard. And so at least be the boss, Seeing the kind of risks that she takes as she gets older, and as she tries different things. I can tell you exactly where I was when Formation dropped, And so she's also been integral in so many people's lives. I've loved her work kind of in the more recent years
Yeah.
as well, that it feels like a call to remember yourself as a Black woman. Her work is fundamentally rooted in collaboration, and we started our conversation talking
Around
about
that,
collaboration
yeah.
being service to one another. And she's so deliberate about that. And then finally, she's a scholar. To your point, Andy, she's a musical library, you know, and I don't think she gets the props that she deserves. There's
a lot of tension around Beyoncé.
And it's fine,
Yeah.
but and I don't think that, when I say they don't understand, in The Gift, the documentary, she's singing one of the songs and she's like, oh, I hear some opera. Like it comes to her, she can envision that this requires an operatic technique that she has access to. Or she'll be in Dubai and she'll use scales that come from that part of the world. And she's able to do that because she's trained, you know. She can sing for 3 hours and dance and because of her technique, because she's doing scales, because she's practicing, she's putting the work in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So that's me shooting my shot to say, Beyoncé, Giselle, Knowles Carter, I'm here when you're ready.
Beyonce, watching you. You know what I think is so interesting with like jazz, and maybe this is my limitation. I'm like, every time I watch, I'm like, I've never seen an all Black woman jazz band. And I don't know if that's me, but I can't tell of a time where, even if it's different collaborators, where it's just been like exclusively women.
I'm thinking as you're talking.
Yeah, like I'm like,
like I know there've been some festivals where they've been very deliberate about the lineup.
Makufe's done a lot of that over the years.
Yeah, a number of shows. Even the musical curation at Nyrox, the whole offering that they have throughout the summer. I'll tell you, there are a lot of musicians who are musical directors as well. So you might not see, you know, that there are many of us performing, but they're taking different kinds of roles. You know, they're composing, they're baked into the fabric of the work that's done. But I think that's a nice challenge to put out there, to say that that's something we want to see, and that like we need to put some respect on the names of women artists in particular. Yes, for their craft. Whether they're an instrumentalist or a vocalist, because South African vocalists.
No, yes.
They be singing, and we are not, we don't know what we have.
Yeah.
When you think of Zoe Mudicha, when you think of Spam Jalose, when you think of Nomfundo, Utiti, like Babaninsi, Ukebi.
Yeah.
I could go on and on and on. I think musically, those people are incredibly gifted, and they compose. They compose a lot of their own music. So you're right. We have such a rich community and so much that's available. That's a good challenge out there.
On that point, who's a woman jazz photographer that you'd like to put on blast?
Oh my God, Vuyo Giba.
Thank God. I was like, okay. I was like, there's only one name.
Listen.
There's a couple of names, but I'm like, let's go.
One right answer, and that is Vuyo Giba.
It's Vuyo Giba, absolutely.
The Gib.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Please, can we give her flowers? Firstly, because the fact that we can exist in this space as ourselves the way we do is because she has had the courage for so many years. She has such a deep archive and can tell you the story of South African jazz. If, like in a geographic way, like if you ask her about Cape Town jazz, she can tell you, okay, well, in Googs, Naselanga, compared to in the Cape Flats, she can tell you about Ekrebs, but this part compared to that, like she is a walking library. And her work is just so beautiful, and she's so generous. I've really, that's a name.
Yeah.
I know I can, to give her props. She's been, really special to me as a sister. Especially when you are in a place where it's just guys. So recently we were on a tour in the Eastern Cape with an all-male band, and I was very happy to have her there. So I love her so much and have such deep respect for her.
I think she's one of the first jazz photographers I encountered. I was like, oh, wait.
Actually,
this is happening. I was like, this is happening and I'm here.
She is, yeah.
She's fantastic. Yeah.
And there's something, right, about being able to see yourself or what could be, you know. Yeah, man, props to the Gibbs. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making time.
I think this platform is so important, you guys.
Thank you so much, Mama.
So I consider it an honor, really, to be able to sit and share stories with you. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time.
Anytime.